Is there any part of you that feels any kind of fear surrounding AI coming into the forefront on how we do some of this? Is there any trepidation in seeing that being utilized more and more?
No.
Okay.
No, none.
All right. Next question.
Next question. Yeah. So, well, there are some reasons for that. And it's really easy. The reason that we think that AI wants to take over the world and take over, our different forms of art and squash our humanity and subjugate us is because of James Cameron. That is why. It's because, so James Cameron, you have left many amazing legacies, but that is one that you might wish you could take back. But yeah, the reason that we're afraid of AI is because of sci-fi, and James Cameron largely, specifically, because of the Terminator movies. But it's not. So first of all, I'm right now reading a great book called Journey to the Edge of Reason, which is the biography of Kurt Gödel, who is the originator of the incompleteness theorem. So I won't bore your listeners to tears with like what all that means, but he was a mathematician in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s who basically mathematically proved that computers could not think the way people could think. That is one of the many implications of his incompleteness theorem. And that doesn't mean that they can't do really amazing stuff. It just means that they can't really be creative in the sense that human beings are creative. Now, is that relevant to the arts? Not necessarily. The way that an AI could disrupt music as we know it, and probably will, is that it can create music that's fine really, really quickly. And it already can do that. And by fine, I mean, watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I know nobody would admit to watching it, but it's, it was on the air for 20 years. So someone was watching it. I've
watched more than my fair share with my wife. So
see, there you go. Yeah. This is what I always say is, they'll stop making it when you stop watching it. It doesn't stay
Neil
on the air for that
Postman's
long.
shaking his head in disappointment.
Yeah. But the music in Keeping Up with the Kardashians is, I mean, it's not very good. It's not, and maybe the people who make it would argue with me, but it seems pretty sort of dashed off, like they just kind of were like, all right, well, here's a drum beat, here's a guitar sample, that's going to work. And AI can do that quality of music right now, and it can do it in great quantities, and it can do it to like direction in plain language. So you as a director could say, give me something that's epic and has violins in it and percussion, and it can make you something that is fine. It's not genius, but it's fine, and that's okay for a lot of situations. So if, let's say, AI captures 5% of the production music market, that's $1 billion market. So if it captures, so the incentive to make an AI that can do that is there, and which means that it probably will eventually be created. So if 5% of that industry goes away, that means that 5% of the people that I work with are going to probably be unemployed, or one of their big clients is going to disappear, which means that they're going to have to spend more time doing stuff other than the stuff I like to hire them for, like mixing, playing instruments, composing additional music or whatever. They're going to have to start doing other stuff, which means they're going to get worse at the thing that they were doing before, which is, music is a perishable skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The less you do it, the worse you get. And so it can affect, like, without being good at making music, it can really disrupt the music industry seriously, because the music industry is an industry of people who are good at making music. And in order to stay good at making music, they need to be able to make it as much as possible.
Right. So the biggest threat is just distracting people from focusing on developing the craft.
The biggest threat is the threat that technology has posed since really its inception, but more dramatically in the last 100 years, which is the threat of creeping mediocrity. So, yeah, just, every advance in technology in the last couple of decades has been cheaper, smaller, faster, and almost as good.
Thanks for listening to the Film School podcast. If you appreciated the content on the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star review and hit subscribe so you won't miss a single episode.